Aloha Hawaii, this is Pokalainui and you are listening to Hawaiian Potpourri. In this program I had wanted to bring up a number of issues. The first is the presidential election now going on in the United States, and do an evaluation and analysis of the debates that are going on, and at least my views on some of those issues. And then we'll move to local issues, especially with regards to the mayor's race between Cayetano and the Pacific Resource Partnership, which is really the ones who are attacking Ben Cayetano mostly. Of course, you have other candidates on the other side, but it seems to some extent that that is where the real debate is, and the debate seems to be essentially over rail taking the lead position in that question. So let's move to the American national scene and take a look at the presidential campaigns now being conducted by Barack Obama and, of course, Mitt Romney. We recall the Republican candidates campaign and attacking one another and the rest, and it seems very interesting to see how the support switches, where on one hand you have the quite clear attacks against Mitt Romney for his economic policies, the systems that he had followed, his investment track, how he exported more jobs than anything else, and the attack against his policies with regards to how he claims he will bring about a better economic system. And then it's all quiet on that front, on the Republican front, and those very people who had made those accusations about his economic policies are immediately quiet with regards to that, and instead just standing in line behind him, supporting him against Barack Obama. And as we look at the campaign itself, we see that in the presidential election, essentially it's all quiet on the international front. There's no real discussion or debate going on with regards to the wars in Afghanistan, with regards to the war that continues to go on in Iraq, although it's much quieter, but American troops are still left in Iraq, or the run-up to a new war going on in Iran, and another one going on in Syria, the run-up to these wars. So we are not hearing those issues being debated. The Republicans are not, or Mitt Romney is not stating his position with regards to these international issues. And it seems that the reason he is not stating his position, I would guess, is that he would take an even more hawkish position than Barack Obama has taken. So on that side, politically, if you look at what Obama has done and how he has positioned himself on that, he does take a hawkish position, but not as hawkish as we would expect the Republicans will take, because after all, he did pull troops back during his administration in both Iraq and in Afghanistan, although people would not credit him for having pulled it back, and they would say that these are just the circumstances of the times in those particular areas. And to a certain extent, I agree, but it was during his administration that he said that we would limit the time that these troops remained in these countries, and that it was under his direction and his essentially a program that stood in the way of the hawks within the administration to draw down the troops. I don't like his position with regards to that hawkish attitude that he has taken. However, he still stands more to the center or to the left with regards to this invasiveness of other countries than the Republicans and certainly Mitt Romney would stand. So even the Obama campaign is not too anxious about making those issues because it leaves Obama subject to attack from the left. But the position of Mitt Romney certainly would be much farther to the right. So on a issue of who would you support, or do you support Barack Obama and his foreign policies, his foreign affairs policy? The answer is certainly no. But in comparison with Mitt Romney, it would be definitely yes in terms of having to choose between these two poor choices. That's my position on that matter. But with regards to where the focus of the campaign is now being put, and that is to domestic policies, let's take a look at what is happening in the debate on domestic policies. It seems that there are only two issues being debated on domestic policies when there should be a whole slew of other issues, but they are simply not being talked about. The one issue is immigration and what Barack Obama has recently done with regards to a policy change within his administration, saying that the so-called DREAM Act, which would support people who had been brought into the country illegally as children and who have grown up in the United States, gone through the schools, have been acculturated into the United States, and are either getting jobs or getting a higher education or serving in the U.S. military. Obama is saying we'll give them a break. We won't actively go after them and throw them out of the country, at least for the next 2 years, and let the matter settle and see how they go about in their application to become nationalized. On the other hand, we have Mitt Romney, who said had the DREAM Act passed, he would veto the DREAM Act. So even if the Congress had accepted the DREAM Act, he would have vetoed the DREAM Act. And yet, on the other hand, he says he disagrees with Obama's stopgap measure or resolving the issue with a Band-Aid, and he believes that it's the U.S. Congress who should be setting these policies, and he would go along with the U.S. Congress. So on one hand, he's saying he would be against whatever Congress would come out with if it passed the DREAM Act, and yet on the other hand, just so that he can have some leverage against Obama's taking the action or taking a positive action, says that he does not agree with that positive action and he would leave the matter to the U.S. Congress. Obama, on the other hand, is saying, hey, the U.S. Congress refuses to act. It's the Republicans in the Congress who have stopped any further movement on this issue, so we cannot let the issue just remain without appropriate direction. And as a result of that not vacant position, that what's the word for it? I'm sorry, there's a word for it. As a result of no action being done there, that as the party responsible for the administration of laws and those questions being left open, this is the policy we're going to take until the Congress acts and directs different policy. So I think in that case, it's reasonable. I agree with what Obama has done. At least he has given some clear direction with regards to how to proceed and give those people who fall within this category something to rely upon, that they can relax for the next 2 years and continue to pursue their education or military service or whatever it is within the United States. So I think that's a fair and appropriate approach to be taken. With regards to Mitt Romney, we're not really sure what he is saying. He sort of contradicts himself, and it's not clear when asked, what is your position? He is simply not clear on that position. So that's one of the issues with regards to immigration. The second domestic issue is with regards to economics. And so you have this whole question about what is the role of governments in economics, or in the financial market. Should the government be playing an active role, or should the government simply be stepping back and allowing the market to dictate and come to its own equilibrium? It seems that Mitt Romney would probably support the government pulling back, and the least government involved in the market is the most appropriate. And it appears that what Obama is saying is that governments need to step in when the market is going haywire, and it needs to assist in supporting one or another aspect of the market as one proceeds into the future. That was one of the great debates prior to the stock market crash and the depression period in the United States. And what came out of that was a new kind of economic policy in which the government would step in, would control the banks, would establish lending rates, and would establish a federal board to control the markets in the United States. And that had gone on for quite a while, until more recently we found that even with the involvement of government, and perhaps to some extent because of the too close marriage between the White House and the federal bureaucracy and the financiers, the bankers and other money traders, that has fallen apart. But what is the alternative? Is the alternative to move back to a pre-depression era where the government completely removed itself and allow the big companies just run wild with whatever they want? Or does government itself need to restructure itself, bringing in new rules and doing further adjustments with a clearer oversight by the Congress over the regulatory agencies? Previously, the regulatory agencies was not being regulated itself by especially the Republican administration, both in the the Reagan administration and the more recent Bush administration, so that they could do whatever they wanted to do. And only after the market disasters that we have seen, more people are saying, well, government needs to be regulated. Both the Republicans, now that Obama is in office, and the Democrats are paying attention to overseeing these kinds of stuff. So is the question just to kill out the regulatory agencies and take them out of the market, or is the response to regulate the regulatory agencies themselves and shape that up and continue with the continued intervention into the so-called free market? Some people are saying, well, if it's supposed to be a free market, then why get involved? Just let it run its course. Other people are saying, yeah, but let's look at the history of what had happened in the so-called laissez-faire free market, the invisible hand moving, and it will all come out in balance. The fact is that it has not come out in balance. The rich are getting richer, far, far richer. There's no middle class, so the middle class is being killed off, and the poor is expanding, the homelessness that we see and the rest. So those people are saying, no, we need the intervention of the government. In terms of the actual debate that is going on, even the debate is not as concise or as clear. with regards to the Obama policy and the Romney policy. And it seems that much of the debate is limited more to, what is the word for it? Just mere statements, hit and run statements, rather than really getting into an analysis of economics and what appropriate policies should be. In the case of Mitt Romney, one of the comments made and critique made by, who was that, another Republican candidate for the presidency, Newt Gingrich, the complaint was when he talks about his style of intervening and affecting the market. Let's take a look at what he has done in leading a major corporation into the market and then offshoring most of the jobs. Romney said, well, it wasn't really offshoring. He used a different term for it. But essentially the idea was taking jobs and sending it off to non-U.S. areas. Romney is trying to play or finagle with the terminology, but essentially there is one big difference. Obama is continually pushing American-made products, and so you have that major difference in the two views of how do you lift American businesses, permit companies to take it offshore and allow the profit margin to skyrocket, or force the companies to work more within the territories of the United States, and as profit increases, hopefully it increases, it is more generally shared by employees within the United States. On one hand, the Republicans are saying that, well, as profits skyrocket, and as the rich gets richer, they will create more jobs. And so let's lay off the very wealthy. Don't tax them too much. Just leave the rate at 35% and let them go ahead and increase their wealth, because they will lift jobs in the United States. On the other hand, the Democrats are saying, well, theory sounds good, but let's take a look at the facts. And the facts are that while the rich have been getting richer, it has not improved the middle class. It has not created more jobs. And this, what is called the Bush-era tax, or taxes, or tax breaks have continued, but where are the jobs being created? They're not being created. So let's turn it around. Let's go ahead and tax them, take that tax money and use that money to do what they claim the rich would do, which is to create more jobs, invest in the American economy. That being the case, if you look at this theory of capitalism, the democratic basis of participating and trying to, well, participating in the market and limiting or putting restrictions as to where jobs can be had, and increasing the American workers' productivity and opportunity for jobs, it is in essence contrary to the pure capitalistic argument that, well, if we believe in capitalism, anyone should have the right to find the markets wherever they want and their production capacities in whatever country they wish to go to. Other people are saying, well, perhaps that capitalist theory is what the problem is, that there has to be internal controls within each country so that the countries are able to protect its borders. Again, I say that the discussions have not elevated to that kind of review, at least the discussions in the presidential election, and that is really what is necessary, instead of the soundbite biting at one another that is now going on without any real analysis. Given the type of campaign that is now going on and the low level of such arguments taking place, what you really have is in essence a popularity contest with some side issues being raised as if they are the primary issues, and behind all of that is stigma of racism that continues within the American public. Okay, so that's my brief analysis. Let's go to some music.
Kaulana na pua o Hawaii, Kupa ama hope o ka aina, Iki mai ka elele o ka loko ino, Pala pala anunu me ka paka. Pane mai Hawaii moku o ke ave, Koku ana honoa o Pilani, Ka ko'o mai kaua I o mano, Pa'apu me ke one o ka kuhi hewa. Aolea e kau I ka pulima, Maluna o ka pepa o ka enemi, Ho'ohui ai nā ku ai hewa, I ka pono sivila a o ke kanaka. Aole makoa e mina mina, I ka pu'u kala o ke au